Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. You caught me napping. I was just taking a nap on this really nice, comfortable bench. I didn't, uh, I didn't see this microphone here. Anyways, like I said, I was taking a nap on this bench, and, I do that quite often just because it's so freaking comfortable. You might be thinking to yourself, how can I get my hands on a bench just like that? And the real answer to that is you can't. It's one of a kind. It's a one of a kind bench, and you're not going to get it. However, if you stick around a little longer here, I can show you how to build this. I think I'm going to die soon from this microphone falling. Anyways, stick around and you will learn how to build this bench.
Hey, what's up everybody? I just wanted to bring you into this program here, Fusion 360, so we can check out the design of this workout bench that I will be building. Here you can see I have the bench that I'm going to make all completely made up. Each one of these holes here represent a certain degree. This one is 15 degrees, 25 degrees, 35 degrees, and 85 degrees all the way up flat. I will be uploading plans, 2D plans probably, of this bench in the description of my video that I make. You can find all the dimensions for all the pieces and everything and where everything goes probably in those plans. You can see here I have a custom bracket that I'm going to be creating. Custom little, joint. And you'll see me build all this. So I did base the design of my bench off of this Rogue AB2 adjustable bench. And if you look closely, a lot of the things about it are similar to mine, especially this bottom frame. It's very similar if I switch back to mine here. You can see my bottom frame is very similar. The only big difference is that the space between these two pieces is much lower on my bench, and it's much higher on this Rogue bench, as you can see, which makes mine better. But then I learned that this bench is actually based off of the Nebula 1080 bench, which apparently is a sort of famous old bench. I mean, I don't know how old or how famous, but Rogue designed their bench based off this bench, and they, for some reason, don't have any good pictures of it. Only really bad pictures, but you can tell that it's pretty much, this is the exact same bench as that Rogue bench with a slightly different bottom part, and very similar to the bench that I ended up making. And so, I don't know, it's a tried and true style of bench that is very good. People really enjoy it. I enjoy it. If you design it, you have a plan that's within means, then you can build it. And the first step is always the idea, and I guess the second step is designing the idea, and the third step is executing on the design. So this is my design. Making the design really good is very important, I believe, so that you just get everything in the right fucking place. Let's do it. Let's build a bench. The first step after designing your project is to go buy the materials. I picked up all this metal at the local metal scrapyard, which has some sorta new pieces of steel square tubing. This specific haul was 2-inch by 2-inch square tubing, but they got all different kinds of stuff. I recommend checking out some of those recycled metal scrapyards in your areas because they can get pretty cool. You can find some cool stuff out there. So you just want to measure out all the different pieces of square tubing you're going to need to build the entire bench, then cut them out using some kind of metal cutting tool. Here I'm using a pretty standard chop saw with a carbide tipped metal blade. I also bought this 3/8 inch thick 4x3 steel plate at the scrapyard, which you can see me cleaning up here. I'll be able to cut out a ton of different things using the CNC plasma machine with this plate. But for my bench, I'll be cutting out the variously holed wedges that angle the pads. The next step is to cut out all the flat parts that will be needed for the bench. I used the 3/8 inch thick plate as well as some 1/4 inch thick stuff I had laying around. The machine I'm using is called a CNC plasma table. It uses independent stepper motors connected through a computer to move a plasma torch along a predetermined line or set of lines. The operator can feed the computer plans for certain parts and watch as the computer cuts your part out using plasma. With all my parts cut out, I can move on to welding my bench. It was getting late at the shop and my camera battery died, so I decided to call it quits for the day. I was able to finish the base bench, but was eager to get back and finish the welding. The next day, my goal was to finish what I call the long pad and the short pad, as well as the pivot for the bench. Here I'm drilling the holes for the pivot brackets to be bolted onto the base bench. These brackets could not be welded on because you want to be able to take these parts apart. Here you get a first look at the brackets I made up to hold everything in place. I give them a tack with everything aligned to make sure it will end up straight. This is a very important step. There are bronze bushings in between all the steel parts that act as great bearings and keep the motion of the pivot very smooth and tight. This was my first test of adjusting my adjustable bench. Very lit. Cut to the next day where I have most of everything welded. Here's what she looks like so far. I like to show you what my builds look like in this stage because I think there's a huge contrast between just after welding and what the build looks like after completing it. The next step is to measure and cut out these wood frames. Make these the exact shape you want your pads to end up looking. I made mine 12 inches wide and traced around a bucket edge to get the rounded ends. I then hammered in some T-nuts where the screws come through to secure the wood to the metal bench. Grinding all my welds down with an angle grinder until they looked actually nice, it's finally time to paint. I hit it with a couple coats of primer, then a couple coats of glossy black. When spray painting, just make sure your coats are nice and thin and even. It's better to have many thin coats than a couple of gloopy, thick, bad coats. I also painted all the bare steel parts with a couple layers of clear coat. At this stage, the metal part of my bench is complete. Time to test it and get it ready for the foam pad. The material I'm using for the cushion is 2-inch thick Rebond foam. This is the most dense foam I could find, and I believe it's the same foam used in commercial gym equipment. It's stiff and doesn't sink in when sat on. I used an automatic turkey carving knife to cut out the shapes of my wood base. It worked perfectly. The fake leather pad cushions were pretty difficult to make. Luckily, I had my mom who knows how to sew to help me out. I recommend watching lots of upholstery videos if you plan on making your own. I'll upload some of the ones I used in the description below. At this stage, I can finally say that my adjustable bench is complete.